Coming up, the Bruins and Golden Knights continue their hot starts to the season. This is Locked On Game to Game NHL.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game NHL, local experts taking you through game to game of last night's action in the NHL. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Charlie McAvoy made his season debut after injury for the Boston Bruins, and he tallied a goal on the way to a Boston win over Calgary. Locked On Bruins tells you how Boston improved its hot start to a 12-2 record.
Charlie McAvoy is back, and the Boston Bruins remain on a roll. This is Ian McLaren, host of Locked On Boston Bruins, and in his first game back after undergoing off-season shoulder surgery, the Bruins' number one defenseman made his return and scored the game-winning goal, helping the Bruins improve their Eastern Conference leading record to 12-2. Just a fantastic return for McAvoy. Connor Clifton also scored, as did David Pastrnak, into the empty net, as the Bruins have now won 2 in a row and will be back in action for a pair of games on the weekend. But again, it can't be understated how important Charlie McAvoy is to this team. They went 11-2 out him. They're 1-0 with him in the lineup, and you can catch all the latest on the Boston Bruins on the next episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
The Oilers gave up 7 goals to the Hurricanes in Carolina on Thursday night, with Andrei Svechnikov scoring a hat trick in that win. Locked On Oilers explains what went wrong on defense for Edmonton.
A difficult road trip for the Oilers gets even worse. Hi, I'm Brett Holden from Locked On Oilers, and Jack Campbell allowed 7 goals against the Carolina Hurricanes as the Edmonton Oilers drop a difficult one, 7-2 to the Hurricanes. 25 saves on 32 shots for Campbell. An awful game for him, but Connor McDavid continues his hot streak. 9 straight games with at least a point in the game, a goal and an assist in this one. His 15th goal of the year, his league leading 15th goal of the year in his 15th game this season. Zach Hyman also getting a goal when, well, Brent Burns does fire it into his own net, but he did get credited with his 7th goal of the season. And Dylan Holloway, a pretty solid game in his first game in the top 6 since the season opener, getting a penalty shot but could not convert. Andrei Svechnikov scoring another hat trick against the Edmonton Oilers, his 2nd against the Oilers this season. He won't see them again unless they see each other in the Stanley Cup final. The Edmonton Oilers are back in action on Saturday against the Florida Panthers in a 2 p.m. matinee.
Not to be outdone, the Rangers topped Calgary's 7 goals with 8 of their own in Detroit. Locked On Rangers and Red Wings have a recap after a 6-goal third period for New York.
So the Rangers really need to stick with the line combinations that we saw in this 8-2 win in Detroit here tonight. What is going on, everybody? This is John Chick with Locked On New York Rangers. The Rangers, of course, just wrapping up a stellar third period. The Rangers have really had their struggles in the third period this season. That was anything but the case in this one. Rangers 2-2 going into the third, just unleash a 6-goal barrage on the Red Wings, pull away with the 8-2 victory. And the biggest takeaway from me is that the Rangers have to stick with these same combinations going forward, the same line combinations. They've obviously been kind of tinkering with the lineup a little bit, shuffling the deck here and there, mixing and matching, trying to find the right line combos. I thought the kid line being back together was awesome. The 3 of them played great in this game. It was a night where everybody stuffed the score sheet. VZ and Kravtsov both in top 6 roles. It's a little bit iffy, but I think both of them played their best game of the season in the recent loss to the Islanders, and then both of them topped themselves here in this game tonight. So I think you're crazy if you mess with these line combos going into the next one, especially when you consider that the Rangers have been struggling to score a little bit, and all of a sudden here tonight, they just go off for 8 goals. But we're going to talk about all that and a whole lot more in the next episode of Locked On New York Rangers. Do not miss it.
The Detroit Red Wings fall 8-2 to the New York Rangers, snapping their 4-game point streak. And we talked about it last week, Scotty. You can only have 1, maybe 2 of these a year, and we've had 2 in the last week and a half. everything that we talked about that is wrong with this team in yesterday's episode came to a head in this one.
Yeah, when this team loses, they lose. Like when this team loses in regulation, they get absolutely destroyed. And it's very frustrating and very exhausting. I'm sure it is for the players too, but golly, I don't know if it's a mindset thing after a couple goals down or what it is, but yeah, when this team loses, they lose, and it's not just when net is in net clearly anymore. So we'll talk about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, we will regrettably talk about this game on Friday's episode of Locked On Red Wings.
Coming up, the Coyotes are on a winning streak and the Devils win in overtime. This is Locked On Game to Game NHL. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. I know when I've been looking for jobs, I always go to LinkedIn, and it feels like a really easy place to have all of my credentials show up so that anybody considering hiring me is able to see that all really quickly and what I'm capable of doing. And of course, LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Welcome back to Locked On Game to Game NHL. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. The New Jersey Devils won in overtime after letting the Senators tie up the game in the third period. Locked On Devils recaps the game winner in New Jersey.
What's up? This is Trey Matthews of Locked On Devils, and here is my post-game reaction. So, the New Jersey Devils have won their 8th straight game. They came out on the winning end once again against the Ottawa Senators by a score of 4-3 in overtime. Now, we could talk about what led up to OT, scoring-wise, defense-wise, but the big headline for New Jersey Devils is that Vitek Vanecek had to leave the game early due to a head injury that he sustained when he collided with Shabbat. He tried to continue on in the game, but ultimately the Devils decided to pull him in the middle of period number 3, so they had to rely on Akira Schmid to try to hold down the fort, and he came up big in OT, making a lot of grade A saves, but the big storyline in OT was just Eric Haula playing lockdown defense despite breaking his stick, and then Dougie Hamilton able to find the back of the net on the redirect on Nico Hischier. So Nico Hischier was credited with the OT goal. Originally, it was going to go to Dougie Hamilton, but nonetheless, that was an exciting course of action for New Jersey Devils. They always find a way to win in the most exciting fashion. So once again, 8 straight for the New Jersey Devils, the first time that they have done something of this caliber since 2011.
The Vegas Golden Knights able to keep pace with the Bruins for best record in the league with another win themselves. This one over the Sabres in Buffalo. Locked On Golden Knights reviews a 7-goal performance for Vegas's 9-game winning streak.
Jack Eichel nets the hat trick. Oh my goodness. Folks, Chris Golick, Locked On Vegas Golden Knights here. The Vegas Golden Knights now have a 9-game winning streak. I'll say that again, a 9-game winning streak. I know everybody wants to hear about Jack Eichel's performance, and it was absolutely magnificent. He put the team on his back in the third. We had some hats on the ice, but the unsung hero of this game is Bruce Cassidy. Bruce Cassidy made the lineup change to bring out Paul Cotter in place of Amadio, and as a result, the third line got on the board multiple times tonight. So everything is working right now for our Vegas Golden Knights. Folks, please check out Locked On Vegas Golden Knights anywhere you get your podcast from. Your team every day.
The Coyotes broke a scoreless tie in the third period with the Islanders in New York, scoring a pair of goals in the final 20 minutes to put the game away. Locked On Coyotes has a 3rd straight win to go over.
Am I hearing this correctly? 3 straight games of wins for the Arizona Coyotes on the road? What is happening as Arizona takes a 2-0 win over the New York Islanders? Let's take a look at the power play. Power play once again also their 13th power play goal in their 13th game. What the power play has just been looking phenomenal lately. Plus Karel Vejmelka, his first shutout of the season. Something is going on with Arizona. They are winning games And, even though it's fun to say, might as well say it. Technically, they might be in the playoff spot right now based off wild card. It is really weird to say that, given this team is a rebuilding team. But we're going to talk about this game. What surprised us? What is going on in Arizona? On the next episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The Kings took down the Blackhawks with a game winner from Kevin Fiala in LA. Locked On Kings has everything you need to know from the win.
The LA Kings got some payback against the Blackhawks. Hi, I'm Eddie Garcia with the Locked On LA Kings podcast. The last time the Kings faced the Blackhawks, they outplayed Chicago, but lost 2-1 in overtime in the Windy City. Thursday in Los Angeles, the Kings, for the most part, outplayed the Blackhawks, but this time, LA turns the tables and squeaks out a 2-1 overtime win of their own. Kevin Fiala won it for LA in sudden death with a goal with just 1.4 seconds left. For Fiala, it's his fourth goal of the season. LA Kings goalie Jonathan Quick had 31 saves, including turning aside all 7 shots he faced in the overtime. The Kings get their third win in a row for Quick. In his last 5 games, he's allowed a total of 8 goals and is 4-0-1 over that span. Philip Deneau had the other Kings goal late in the second period, his 5th of the year. Kings improved to 9-6-1 and have 19 points through 16 games in the season. They move into second place in the Pacific Division, went up on Seattle. We'll have a full recap of the win over the Blackhawks on Friday's show. For more, check out Locked On LA Kings, wherever you get your podcasts, your team every day.
The Avalanche able to win with 4 goals in the second period against the Predators, and our Locked On hosts from both teams recap everything that happened in Colorado.
So an emotional night in Denver at Ball Arena. The Colorado Avalanche say goodbye to longtime announcer Peter McNabb and then go take care of business 5-3 on the ice against the Nashville Predators. It was a day filled with emotion. And, I think Peter McNabb, wherever he is smiling at the send-off that they gave to him. He passed away, unfortunately, and the Avalanche, at least for tonight, did him right for a 5-3 win.
It was a emotional night for Avalanche fans, saying goodbye to old Maxey, and then to see the Avalanche come back from their global series over in Finland and get right back to Avalanche winning ways. And you saw production from Mikko and Logan O'Connor. So it was the sad emotions, the happy emotions, and the Avalanche finally getting back to old Avalanche hockey.
Yeah, as far as the game goes, looks like the Avalanche are starting to hit their stride right when a lot of players continue to get put on an injured list. They're filling in players from the Colorado Eagles, and they have not missed a beat. So maybe that trip over to Finland was kind of like their turning point for them as far as the season goes. That remains to be seen, but at least for tonight, they looked really good against the Predators. And yeah, like you said, the big story was Peter McNabb and all that he's meant to the Colorado Avalanche and will continue to do so. He might not be here physically, but what he's meant to the franchise will be felt forever. So Kyle and I will break it all down. Tune into Locked On Avalanche today.
4 minutes and 14 seconds and a handful of mistakes cost the Nashville Predators yet another game. Hi, everyone. I'm Ann Kimmel from Locked On Predators. Tonight, the Nashville Predators took on Central Division rival Colorado Avalanche, and it did not go well. The Predators lost 5-3. Now, Nashville did have a decent first period and an even better third period, but they gave up 3 goals in 4 minutes and 14 seconds in that second period. And friends, that was game. There were a few bright spots for the Predators. Eeli Tolvanen, who has recently been a healthy scratch, was back in the lineup and scored Nashville's first goal. And the Predators did record a power play goal. But look, here's what's real. Colorado is not a team that you can afford to make mistakes against. And right now, the Nashville Predators are still making way too many mistakes.
That's all for today on Locked On Game to Game NHL. Thank you so much for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Make sure you check out Locked On NHL and your favorite team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.